Yes, welcome. So, welcome to the channel. Today we had the discussion for goat farming. So it is we are co-hosting together with Sebuleni Farm. So we are waiting for others to join. So today's session will be about starting a goat farming business, especially on the meat breeds. So Sebuleni Farm, we are co-hosting Sebuleni. Let me bring her to join the live. So in the meantime, for those ones joining us, we had set up a live for goat farming together with Sebuleni. So in the meantime, in the comment sections, you can comment the areas of interest in terms of starting goat farming. So in the moment, for others, you can tap so that we get more guys so that you can commence it. Let me try to bring up Sebuleni Farm. Sebuleni Farm, I'm having challenges. Cannot bring you up. I don't know if you can log out and try to log in again. Yes, so in the meantime, the starting up depends with various factors. So it depends with your breeding objective. So are you doing it for dairy or for meat purposes, or especially those who are doing it for purposes of carcass? The different guys. So we have guys exporting to the UAE for purposes of Sebuleni is still trying. Just a minute. It's telling me isn't available to go live. Sebuleni still issues on connecting. In the meantime, as you are waiting for Sebuleni Farm, so as we said, so keep tapping on the screen for purposes of others to join and sharing the live. Perfect.
Yes,
welcome. Sorry
but
for
people are able. People are able to see that I'm live. The people that had scheduled the event.
Awesome. So welcome. So should
Yeah.
I leave you to, or I continue?
I mean, we could. Maybe we could start. I can like sort of moderate in a way. So we have not yet gotten to have a discussion of any sort. So maybe an introduction would be in order.
Perfect. So Sebuleni, perhaps you can commence, and then I do the introduction on my side.
Oh, okay. So on my end, I'm the founder of Sebuleni Farm Center, the content platform, and also the farm itself. And our farm is sort of a mixed farm environment. So we have a variety of animals, and we also have put in some plants on vertical gardens. So ours is we have chicken, that is poultry. We have some rabbits, like a couple of goats, I try not to set people's expectations very high on the goats. So that's why I'm very keen on learning on the goat area because
Oh,
yeah, I'm still in the learning curve. And then we have vertical gardens where we put strawberries. So it's really a mixed environment where
okay.
we pick waste from the animals, put it in the planting area, grow our own fodder for the animals and those kind of things. So everything kind of depends on everything.
Awesome. So
Yes.
it's more of an organic farm.
We are trying to be as organic as we can.
Yes. Awesome. So on my end, my name is Rolf from Goat Masters Kenya. So I have cattle, but I've majored on the goat part, especially the meat breeds. So on the farm, I have the Savannah, I have the Boer. So these are some of the meat masters with the origin from South Africa, as well as
Mhm.
the Gala or the Somali or Ghana breeds. So some extent, I also introduced some geese to the squad. So, but in the meantime, I major on the goat breeding. I'm more of a breeder than for carcass purposes. So I breed for other farmers in terms of improving their breed. So, Sabine, back to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. So, in terms of breeding, like, maybe you could start us out like what breeds are there. So, if somebody is starting, like somebody is green in this field, what breeds are they looking out for? What are the superior breeds versus any other?
Sure. So, if someone is starting out, it depends. One, are you starting out from a straight beginner or starting up from having done the rearing we call them the local East African goats. So the local East African goats, these are the small goats that can take even 5 years, but they don't add a lot of flesh. So that is one. So the ordinary ones we usually see, which are some are a little bit skinny. Then we have the Maasai goats. Those are still local goats, but the ones from 2 years and above, 2.5, uh, those are the major ones that are available. Then we have the improved breed from the northern Kenya as well as Somali. So we have the Borana or Gala goats. So those are the ones which are easily available for someone who is starting out. So the real question should be, what is the breeding objective? So it depends on the breeding objective. So if you're breeding for dairy, then you're looking at the breeds like Alpine, Toggenbach, Sanen. I believe Sebuleni have some, I think, dairy goats, if I'm not wrong.
No, ours were for
For
meat.
me,
We
I
got
don't
them from
measure
the
a lot.
Maasai.
Yours for me, it's awesome. So I have friends who have the dairy ones, but for me, I was given some character development when I was young on dairy cows. But with the keen interest of the meat goats, by December, I'm introducing the dairy as well for purposes of sustainability on the goats that don't have sufficient milk, because the crossbreeds consume a lot of milk. So that's why the first step should be on your own objective. Are you rearing it for dairy purposes, or are you rearing it for meat purpose? So then the second thing is your spacing. It depends with the available area that you want for the farming. So if you're doing it in an urban setting, then I think the dairy goats will be more objective than the meat goats in commercial aspect. For me, I do the commercial breeding. So considering that meat goats consume a lot of food, and you don't have the daily returns as compared to the dairy goats, whereby you can sell, you can be in a position to milk and sell on a daily basis, assisting you in terms of low cost production. So personally, I do free range farming. So it's in some little number of acreage, so that I majorly depend on the shrubs as well as to the available vegetation on farms. So it's on the lower side is 24 acres, and then the other side is around 80 acres. So they have sufficient in terms of feeding program. And now those are the ones in terms of available breeds locally. So I've talked about the meat goats being the local East African goats, which the market they're easily available. However, you need to be sure that you're taking a goat that is 2 years and above if it's the local breed. Then now we have the Somali goats or the Borana. Personally, if someone is starting, I will prefer the person to begin with the Somali goats, or those are more hardy. They are found in northern. Majority of the region comes from the northern Kenya. So once you get those ones, you have less issues in terms of hardy and less sick. However, when it comes to the challenge will be the normal. Any goat, whether from South Africa, from Uganda, from the technique is the same. So if it is vaccination, it applies. If it's deworming, it applies. So I will advise that you can be in a position to begin with the Gala goats because they're it's easier to manage them. They are meat as well as milk. However, it depends again with the breeding objective. So if you take a buck, because the buck is the one that determines the genetic structure. So you realize that after the breeding objective, then is the choice of the breed, which I've explained. So now for the perfect bodybuilders, when we're talking about carcass, then unfortunately we'll have to go the South African way, whereby in South Africa we have Boer goats, we have the Savannah, and then we have the red Kalahari. So those are the ones that top, and then we have the indigenous goats, and those indigenous, it was through over 70 years research for them to get to that stage of now getting those improved breeds. So personally, for me, I ventured into the commercial part. I from childhood, I'm a Maasai. I have the Maasai origin. So from childhood, I've been rearing rabbits. I came across Sebuleni because of rabbits. I was a big fan. I used to, when I was in primary, I used to hide in the rabbit, the houses I'd built for the rabbits when trying to abscond duties. That's why I came across Sebuleni Farm, which is doing amazing things in the goat space. So back to the agenda. So from South Africa, we're looking at Boer, Savannah, and Kalahari. So the only challenge with South Africa is that the goat business is like a gold business there. So most guys create fake accounts. They take images from other guys. So starting out with a serious breed, it takes a little bit of investment, whereby someone has to part with a lot. For instance, a buck that is, let's say, Boer goat, buck which is ready for breeding from South Africa breeder who has a license, because the other factors is supposed to be someone who is licensed to export. You get someone telling you, $300, you get a male Boer which is ready to serve. So then you ask him, how many goats can I able to bring in 10 goats? Yes, even 5, 3, that is a scammer, because you cannot, the crates for importation, they cannot be filled with 10, because even if you bring 10, it will be very expensive, because the air freight will be so much expensive. So that's why most of the breeders pull. They pull because on the minimum, at least if someone speaks to you and says, talking about 30 goats on the minimum, he will have to pull other farmers or breeders to add that amount. Then that is a reasonable breeder. So you must check and be sure that the breeder is a credible guy, based on the big online research, so as to attain that breed is genuine. And then also following up from other guys who say they have done with it. So personally, for me, it took me almost an entire year researching. But fortunate enough, I found someone who had also who had bought from someone. I had just to confirm from him, though I had researched and found online. So the guy is Caro Livestock. He's a genuine guy. He has license as well. So you realize that that one buck, just bringing one buck alone, despite the fact you're pulling with others, you're parting with not less than $1,800, one buck. And to the third point, whereby I was telling you about the choice of breed. Personally, for me, I do pure line of Savannah and pure line of Boer. Then I have another line of the Somali goats being crossed with the Boer. Now, the beauty about science is that when you're starting out, there's the angle of you having that big. You need to have a big heart and passion, because when you're playing with science, you are 100%. You are 100% passionate about it, but the lost part comes in because you're sort of going the South African way where they used 70 years. So personally, for me, across and from the first lot I received, I think I lost the first kid because unfortunately enough, I used first-time mothers with the breed. So the kid of Boa has a very big head. If you can check on my timeline, you'll be able to see the with a red head. Boa it's quite huge, whereby if someone can't even to carry it alone, it becomes a problem to carry that breed alone. So lifting it up is maximum one, which is mature, is around 110 to 15 kgs. So the one I have is 90 kgs. So even vaccination, it requires 2 guys to vaccinate the breed. So in terms of the offspring, you realize that they are born big. So a 2-day-old goat cannot be compared. I did another science comparison with that Maasai goat. It's still young. I have some kids born in July. When I show you the July kid and the January kid, you'll be amazed, because the July kid appears as if it's 2 years old, and this other one is more is almost kicking almost remaining 1 month to a year, but they're still tiny and very small, despite the fact that they're in the same conditions. Even if you remove the feeding part, still you cannot compare those two in terms of their growth rate. So the beauty about a crossbreed is that it borrows heavily from the father. Especially if you use like Gala. Gala is a good breeding goat. So if you use Gala as the female, then now you get you get a pure Boa, or a Boa that is a cross of Gala and Boa, so that now you're improving the growth rate. So even Galas, the moment they attract 4 months, they grow faster as compared to the local East African goats. So that you realize that in the event that you begin your breeding program with the Galas alone, is a good start, so that now you minimize on the loss if you have never done goat farming. So if you're a veteran, then it's an issue of now improving the genes by getting a buck that has improved genetics, so that now you can cross. In terms of your scale, it depends. So a breeding farm, you require an objective. So once you have the objective, it takes time for you to reach that objective. So you must consider, if you're starting up, you must consider that you cannot start out and become a veteran overnight, because you must consider the gestation period of a goat, which is around 150 days. So when you're stocking fresh stock, you have to first consider the stocking phase. So once you stock, you cannot start breeding immediately, because that goat is used to a different location. So you must consider the issue of shipping fever. So putting it under some antibiotics, acclimatize to that condition. So in buying that goat, you must know, what was this guy feeding it? Was it on free range or is it zero grazing? So in the event you don't know the type of breeding, you might buy a very healthy goat, but sustaining the body mass becomes a challenge because you don't know what the guy is feeding. So it's always good. That's why a farmer is different from a breeder. A farmer, you go to Northern Kenya, they give you say, how many goats? They tell you 100 goats, 50 goats, 60 goats. You get even a broker just marshalling up goats from different farms. Again, now that one is that's another red sign, because picking goats from different farms and joining them to one farm, that's just a recipe for chaos, because you will be dealing with so many diseases unless you're getting it from credible farms that do vaccination, for instance. So if you don't have that opportunity and luxury of researching to the various farms, if you get from the market, but for me, I don't do. When I began, I told myself I'll not do it from the market. Reason being, some farmers are not gracious enough to inform you about the underlying conditions of those goats. So at least from a farmer, if you go to the farm itself and is a breeder, at least there's that angle of a historical approach to that goat, so that someone will tell you that this goat is pure boar. But first, you need to ask yourself, even before engaging in the buying of the goat, you need to know what are the basic features of a boar goat, so that now, even if you're going to buy one, from the basic tenets, like for instance the composition, the head structure, the hind quarters, the way they are resting on it, so that now personally, I began from a commercialization because some of the farmers were not genuine as to the kind of breeds they have. So someone has a cross boar, but he says this is a pure boar, because people don't know. So researching, and especially using South Africa resources as your starting point, and following guys who have those breeds in their farm, also assists you to be able to know that, hey, oh, this one now is a boar, then this is a red Kalahari. So red Kalahari, from the terminology, it means the body coloration is inclined towards appearance of red. Then Savannah now is like white, pure white goat. So that now when you look at the Somali goats, they're also pure white. However, in terms of the body weight, you cannot compare the body weight of a Savannah and the Gala goats, the ones from northern Kenya. So when you're starting up, as I said, the breeding objective. So is it for dairy or for meat? Then now the space can determine which type of breed you can do. Then third, your knowledge base. So the knowledge base being, how good do you know about goats? If you don't know, I suggest even before buying them, you need to do several visits to farmers who are rearing those goats, depending on the objective. If it's dairy, visit at least 5 to 10 farmers who are doing that niche, so that you can do the analysis. So it's more of a risk mitigation. So you can either decide you are a risk taker by getting in and taking the heat, or running and placing yourself on shoulders of others. Personally, my first round of importation, I lost some 2 goats because of failure to do some basic vaccination, because they are coming from a different jurisdiction. So it depends with your knowledge base. So the knowledge base means you have to research a lot for you to be able to know what kind of breed you want and what's your breeding objective. So Sebuleni, perhaps in the meantime, others can write. I know some have already started farming. So if you're having some challenges here and there, so perhaps they can you can write, and then we follow up on the engagement.
Yeah, we're open for questions on the comment section. We are open to have any questions about goat farming. But meantime, as we're giving people that, I think for me, I'm trying to exhaust some of the curiosities I have around goat farming. So I got 2 kids myself. I got a male and a female kid. But I also noticed, because I got it from the Maasai, that their growth rate is very slow. Like they grow very slowly. Their feed to weight conversion rate is not very high. What could be the issue? Like, what is that, a breed issue? Is it inbreeding? Is it the type of food?
Okay. Several factors. So one, as I had explained earlier, if he's a serious breeder, then he must have records as to who is the father, who is the mother, how many kids there. Does personally have an app whereby I've listed all the animals in it. So not necessarily an app. So even if you have an Excel sheet, you can use the Excel sheet and have the sheet showing all the doors, all the bucks, and then now showing the lineage. You see, it's an issue of lineage. So I remember from my first lot, the mistake I did is I bought the females and the male and the breeding back from the same farm. That is another recipe for chaos, because there might have been a chance that that might be the kid to this father. So the inbreeding aspect is usually the greatest challenge, because that's why it is advisable, once you get always get the male from a different farm, not the same farm. So when you are stocking, you stock the female from, you can stock the female from one farm. That one has no problem. However, the buck, you have to stock from a different. Secondly, if you're getting a buck that is ready to serve, you need to see at least the offspring, the body mass in terms of the body gain, in terms for purposes of projection curve. Let's say if it's at 1 month, this is how it appears. These are the number of kg. If it's 2 months, 3 months. Then, secondly, in terms of the choice of genes, so local East African goat, it will take you around 2 years for it to fetch some. In terms of even for it to come on heat, it takes longer as compared to the exotic breed. So Gala goat at least is the middle for me in my curve in terms of breeding. So if someone is starting out and wants to at least fetch good money, he must begin with at least on the bare minimum the Gala goats, and if it's the Maasai goats, at least one which is 2 years for the mothers. And then thirdly, on the genetic type, when the buck is the one that determines the offspring, majorly determines the offspring. So in the event that the buck itself does not have sufficient high quality genes to transfer, or the buck and the mother have a relationship, they might be sisters or coming from the same lineage, that can also be another issue in terms of it. Thirdly is an issue of sufficient milk. If during feeding, you need to ensure that the kids have sufficient feed. Those might be some of the issues that that might be in your case. So the challenge is, the question is, did you buy the male and the female from the same guy? The blend.
Yes, I did. But then should that affect the growth rate? Because I've not yet started the mating process. They're still growing, but the growth rate is done that is slow.
So you bought kids, or they gave birth in your.
No, they were kids.
You bought the kids.
Yeah.
So personally, I will advise that it depends with the number of age. So there's that separation of the bucks and the females. So for your case, it might be wise to work towards separating it once it's around 4 months, from 4 months, 5 months, separating the male and the female, not to mix. And then now, once they fetch around from 10 to 12 months, depending with the gene with the breed that you have, once they start coming on heat, it might be wise to get another buck, so that now you can test that one buck, the external buck, and this one against it, so that if there are, let's say, 2 goats, one to serve the other one and this one to serve the other one, so that now you can be able to gauge the output, so that if there is relationships or not. Because mostly, if I had one which was I had to nurse one, it was very tiny. I had to use a syringe to feed it, but after 2 to 3 days, it didn't see the light, because it appears to had relations with the dad. The rest of the kids were very healthy, because the father was quite huge. Yeah? From my channel, I think I once posted him. He had some good genes. Those kids, for right now, they're around like 4 months. 4 months, but if you can look at them, they look as if they're 7 months old. Again, it depends. So sometimes for me personally, I use despite they're not dairy, I get depending with the feed pattern, I get some little bit of dairy meal to add to their feed. Not a lot, but a little bit for boosting it especially when it rains, or you see when it rains, they don't have sufficient time to feed on the shrub. So it depends with the feeding program as well. Sablen?
Yeah, got that. So you talked about going through character development with dairy farming. Are you able to give us a bit of an
Yes.
inside story on that? What happened?
No, that one was way back, not now. When I was in primary school, it was a lot of hassle, especially on the feeding part. However, it depends. That's what I usually say. That was a while back. However, over the years, I think considering the experience that comes with having the control measures. You see, the challenge was having the control measures. So, like personally for me, I have a vaccination calendar. So which I go by it. So that now if it's yearly, I must ensure that pneumonia strikes the goats. So pneumonia is the greatest problem. So you must ensure that you have your vaccination calendar on point. So for me, I ensure that I'm vaccinated for PPR as well as CPP. Those are the ones that kill the goat in seconds. So
What are
I
those?
ensure that the calendar, that's why yes,
What
they
is
have some French
PPR
names.
and CPP? Yeah.
PPR is it's like a pneumonia, disease of pneumonia. However, it has a French name, so petit is like for small stock, the PPR part, and then the CCPP, that is for contagious pneumonia. In short, it's just for contagious pneumonia. So when you're administering it, that one assists to, and you'll realize sometimes you get when you stock fresh goats from the market, you getting those goats from someone who was never vaccinated. He is just a casual farmer, not a breeder. So for him, it is an issue of the numbers. So a farmer will be impressed with a flock of 1,000 goats. A breeder will be impressed with 5 to 10 goats, which can, when sold, can accumulate all the 1,000 goats the other farmer has. So the rule is when you get the goats from the farm, you must ensure that you put them under quarantine, at least for 2 to 4 weeks, separate from the original flock, so that now you're not inviting disease to your farm. So you subject it to the various vaccination first, antibiotics, so that now you are sure that this one, I'm not seeing it to be sickly. So that if it's sickly, you will see the signs of it coughing or some not feeding well. So that now you do an upgrade of it once you have done the spraying to contain the ticks prevalence that might have come from it. If it's from the market, high chances if the guy was not obeying the spraying schedule, then you can be able to contain. Those are like baseline risk management strategies during stocking. Then don't stock during when it's raining, because now you'll have issues in your farm with the foot diseases for the goat. So you always buy the goats during dry season, because goats don't love rain. That's why during rainy season they lose a lot of weight, unless now you have backup food, for instance the hay or lucerne, which have some proteins to sustain the growth during rainy areas. Because when it rains, you cannot release them when the ground is still wet. So you have to ensure that you let them out during when at least the surface is not that wet. Sebeleni, I hope I have
Interesting.
addressed your issues.
Interesting. Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm learning a lot. I hope everyone on the live is also learning a lot. And there was a lot of questions on the live announcement. But like I'm not seeing, like one of them I remember was about how to fatten. how to fatten. And there's somebody who had told me, given me a term, one of the goat keeping terms that I didn't understand. They called something called a feedlot. So can you shed some light on that?
Feedlot.
What is a feedlot? How do you use that to fatten your goats?
Okay. So definitely a feedlot is more of the way I'd explained initially. So we have the free range and then we have the zero grazing. So a feedlot system, personally, I will not advise a feedlot system for goats because of the expenditure that is more put in it. So a feedlot system mostly is done for fattening of the bulls, the cow. Cow feedlot system is the one that works, whereby someone gets a bull that is a good weight, then takes that bull and subjects it to a 3 months feeding program, whereby they measure the weight upon getting into the farm. Then they do the feeding pattern, whereby they do now the data collection of the records as to how the gaining weight. So you realize that I think there's a serious guy in Yani. He's doing it at large scale farming for under the feedlot system. Still, you can still do feedlot for goats, whereby now that means if you're doing it for purposes of selling it for meat, let's say for the butchers and everything, then you must consider the various cost implication of it, because let's assume you're buying back at around, let's say, 6,000 or 7,000, one which has some good body mass that you can fatten and then sell during these serious ceremonies, especially the Islamic ceremonies, whereby for them goat meat is their preference. So you realize that you'll have to consider the vaccination part, the multivitamins, and as well as the feeding plan. So that now it means you have to purchase hay. I know that this guy has around like I think is it 1,000 bulls and 1,000 goats and sheep, which he puts on feedlot system so that they can export to the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman. So for him, he was spending per day, I think, around 500 bales of hay. So you can imagine that cost implication, sometimes 500 to 1,000 for the goat side and the sheep. So the feedlot system is not a cheap project. However, it depends with the objective. So it depends how much that goat can fetch. So if you are taking local East African goats and putting them in a feedlot system, that one you'll not get that returns. As I think the cost of production will be so high than the returns. However, that's why you see mostly like in Kiambu and the environs, you see guys doing the dairy goats. They buy the hay in bulk and they do them on feed. Technically it's more like feedlot, but for that one it's more of dairy. So it's just like the same program, but feedlot is like you're fattening them so that they can get to the market within 3 months or so for sale. So it depends. So if you're buying them and then you have like hay, you've planted hay, then that can really work for you if you have a small space. Because now the calculation is especially on the cost of production. The things that you buy, you'll have to buy the leaking salt. You have to look at the costs for the vaccination part, the multivitamins, if it is. So when you're fattening, unless you fatten by choosing the males, if it's like, for instance, gala, the males gain body mass faster than the females. The females, ordinarily, they don't have huge body unless when they start killing, so that now they have like more space and they become bigger. So I have like some gala goats which gave birth, and if you see the gala body mass and the savannah one, they're almost, you cannot be able to gauge because of the once they get sufficient feed and less stressed, goats are like kids, if they're less stressed, then they're feeding well, they have no complications. The way you treat them is the way they respond pretty well as well. I hope I've responded that.
Yes, absolutely. So there's also an observation I made. There's a goat farmer in my neighborhood who talked about
Yes.
their goat getting a urinary tract infection. How do goats get UTIs, and how do you prevent that? Like they
So
were having blood in their urine and all that.
So that one, it might have several factors. So hygiene comes in handy. So ordinarily, you realize some guys are of the suggestion. There are two schools. One school is ground goat pen, and another school is goat pen. So no matter the choice, it depends with your budget. So if you're starting out, beginning with the structure, it's a little bit expensive. So it's better to use a ground structure and work towards cleanliness, daily cleaning, and having an observant guy who, if you're having another guy who's looking after it than yourself, then you need to have another guy who has a clean pair of eyes, a guy who can spot issues. And then also the deworming part can play a role towards the healthiness of the goat. So the feeding as well as the structure. So you realize that if you have a raised structure and it's a few meters from the ground, let's say 1 meter from the ground, you realize that the urine of the goat is so toxic, because it's good fertilizer, but quite toxic if inhaled. So those inhalation are the ones that also bring issues towards respiratory issues, which can also be seen through the feeding. So essentially, just the issue of the ensuring you have you have a watertight calendar which you are following it religiously, and then the cleaning part. If you have a raised pen, then down below the pen you must ensure that, at least depending with the number of goats. So if there are so many, then it means regular cleaning. At least ensure you have a raised pen which is around 3 meters high to avoid the ammonia from the goat's urine getting to it, because those infections are the ones that bring complications. So you either decide to take a proactive approach of cleaning and deworming, spraying, or a reactive approach, which will be more expensive, because you'll have to call the vet, you'll have to administer some medication on it, depending with the symptoms. Then definitely with time, I always advise guys that when you're engaging the vet, know what is being administered to the goat, because there's some basic antibiotics which, with time, some are subcutaneous. You can be able to administer yourself when the vet is not around. So having some, we call it first aid kit for basic things like it's coughing. There's some things you cannot be calling the vet every now and then on some basic things. For instance, you cannot call the vet to spray the goats unless your cost of production, you want your cost of production to be high, or deworming. Those are basic routinely things which you can engage the vet, and then the vet now trains you on one or two things if you have never done it, rather than watching YouTube and then now trying to administer things which are not under supervision. I think I've addressed on your issue.
Yeah, you've addressed it. Yeah, I don't know who is in the audience who wants to ask a question. I don't want to hog all the questions. Is there someone who has a burning question? It seems the numbers keep fluctuating too.
Oh. So I think
Yeah,
for first session, that is yeah. I think next session we'll do a banner both sides, your side and my side, so that we push traffic and also input. Also have another good group of commercial goat breeders. So that one has some good numbers there, so that we can share more like a post and then we share, so as to assist the goats, the guys who are starting out.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I don't know, a monthly gathering,
Or
goat awareness gathering.
yes,
Yeah, to just keep
monthly,
people.
yeah,
Yeah, to
like a
just
goat
keep them.
club,
Yeah, like the goat club, the goat guys.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes. So
And as well, I think they.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, as I was
Yeah.
saying, once we have like the goat club part, then we can be able to give like a specific thematic areas for that discussion, so that now those ones who will be interested can be able to join, knowing the exact thematic area that is being dealt with.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, but I think this was a great start.
Yes.
Yes, I think this was a great start. Definitely the engagement and interactivity will improve with subsequent
Yes.
events. And of course, I'd have fixed my phone by then to be able to also go live on my end.
Sorry for. Yes. For me, I rarely do lives from my end. So that's why I saw you from your side. You're more. I think with the telephone hitches, it's part of technology. So probably next time we'll try and see how we can push so that we have a banner. I share on my side, and then you share on your side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can
Right.
see there's new people
So
joining. But even though new people are joining, I think I need to wind up, and I hope you still do. So what you're gonna do? I've done lives in my other accounts. What you do with this one is when you go to your live center, you're able to get the live recording.
yes.
Yes. So we are able to, if you're able to share the live recording, then it would be able to pick snippets of that live recording and maybe put on your content page. I put also on mine, and we're able to get people to know what they missed out on this session.
No worries. All right. I
Yeah.
think for a start, that is nice engagement. Then we can work towards other sessions.
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate you making time for doing this. And I think for me, my passion is to see more awareness on best practices on agriculture, and not just doing it because most trainings are always about how to produce, but like maybe moving also into helping people to work out their numbers, like how to manage their farm as a business as opposed to as a hobby.
Yeah. So of course, it begins with the hobby, but at the end of the day, the hobby can't feed you. So it's about the breeding objective of commercializing it. So that's why that's why I was saying the choice of genetics, especially the male one, even if the budget is not that strong, the part of you getting a superior gene for the male one can assist to what I have some kids. It is a cross 50% boa, 50% gala. But if you look at it, the science, sometimes some appear as savannah, like a pure savannah. So I think we'll have another session when I'll be at the farm. We can schedule another live, even if it will be impromptu, but another session of showing the various. You see, like today it was more of an academic exercise, but now the real time features. For instance, if I say boa goat, I show what a boa goat is. Then the offspring of the boa goat, and then crossbreed, so that now when I say savannah goat, the guys can be able to follow and see, really, this one is 3 months, this one is 1 year, this is a local breed is 1 year, and this other is just 3 months, and it's already huge than the other one. So that now someone wants to commercialize, you need to have something that within, personally for me, from 3 months, I usually that's sufficient to release the backlings, the male kids. I release so long as they finish the milking part, because they're already huge. Like I even have some on the channel. So once you have a breed that can fetch the market faster, I have voluminous. I have an entire waiting list of guys who want those breeds. So you see, you have a lot of clientele base which you need to sustain. So currently, like the boa goats, Savannah and Red Kalahari in Kenya, the numbers are so low, so that the traction is, the demand is so high than the supply at the moment. So that's why I'm working on a breeding objective to bring to do bulk kidding. So another session we'll talk about synchronization, so that now if you're commercializing it, then you need in one, like in July, I had around 19 kids in a span of weeks. So we'll work towards now synchronization aspect and handling of kids, so that this others also can learn and see. Those who have interest in getting into the business can be able to pick it up from there. Thank you, Sebuleni,
Yes.
for having invited to your show. So we'll pick it up and see how we can.
It's not really my
Another show should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're making it sound
I
like
look
it was.
forward to the.
Yes, the next one definitely I want to organize way better. Technology just decided to let me down. Yeah, but then I also like what we're gonna do is use whatever footage was whatever knowledge snippets that was generated in this live to build awareness for the next time we talk about goat farming.
All right.
To
No worries. Thank
build
you once again.
anticipation
Yeah.
towards that. Yeah. So as the campaign is going on, you can just you post on your page and I post on mine too, so that when now maybe next month when we are doing another rematch or whatever rerun of this, people would have gathered their questions, gathered their curiosities, and they're ready to come in.
Sure. It's a good start. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
And see you next time.
All right. Bye.